Good morning everyone and welcome to this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee. The first item on this morning's agenda is the election of chairman. Could I have a nomination from the floor, please?
Could I nominate Councillor David Flagg?
All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Good morning everyone and welcome to this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee. I'm Councillor David Flagg, the elected chairman for this meeting of the subcommittee. I'm joined this morning by Councillor Burton, Councillor Butler and as reserve Councillor George Farquhar. Could I ask the clerk please to run through the housekeeping issues?
Thank you, Chairman. Just to quickly explain to people that this meeting is being audio recorded by the Council for the purposes of publishing on the Council website in due course. Please could I remind everyone present to use their microphones when speaking. The meeting may also be audio recorded and or filmed for live or subsequent broadcast by members of the public, although the Chairman has ultimate discretion and may halt any recording or broadcast should he feel it is disrupting proceedings. There are no scheduled fire alarm tests. If the alarm should constantly ring, please follow officers out of the building by way of the nearest available signed fire exit. If you should need any specialist assistance, please let a member of staff know. Toilets are located outside along the corridor, and please can mobile phones be turned off or switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. Thank you. Did you want me to deal with apologies, Chairman?
Thank you, Chair.
Apologies have been received from Councillor Judy Butt. So, as the Chairman has explained, Councillor Burton is here as the reserve member, stepping up as a member of the subcommittee today. Item 3, declarations of interest. Do members have any declarations on the item before them?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Item 4. Before we move into item 4, could I ask all members who have an intention to, or people have an intention to speak this morning, could you identify yourselves, please?
Mrs. Carol Legg, representing the Exchange.
I'm Stuart Kimber, the DPS and the owner of the Exchange.
Thank you.
Louise Busfield, Police Licensing.
Thank you.
Gareth Gosling, Police Licensing.
Thanks very much. Right, item 4, application for a review of premises licence, Exchange Bar for the Triangle, Bournemouth. Could I ask the officer to introduce the item, please?
Chairman, could I just, or would you like me just to run through the procedure to follow and get everybody to agree with that? Would you like me to do that? Okay, so the proposed procedure and order of speaking for the hearing is as follows. The licensing officer will present the report. The applicant, which in this case is Dorset Police, will make their application. There will be questions of the applicant by all parties, members of the subcommittee to go first. Any responsible authority, or in this case other persons, will make their representations, so in this case that is you. And then there will be questions of yourself, and members of the subcommittee will go first in that questioning. And then all parties will be given the opportunity to sum up, with the party who spoke last to go first. The subcommittee will then deliberate in private with the legal advisor, Linda Cole, and the clerk, as myself. Any councillors who are observing or new to licensing can actually retire with the subcommittee at that stage, but they will not be taking part in that decision. So Councillor Farquhar is sat over there. He may come into that adjournment room, but he will not take part in the decision. The subcommittee will return and the chair will announce the decision, and a written decision notice will then be issued afterwards, and the legal advisor will advise parties of any right of appeal as appropriate. So I just want to check that everybody's happy with that procedure before we proceed. Okay, thank you.
Sarah, thank you.
Thank you. Application has been made by Dorset Police for the review of the premises licence under Section 51 of the Licensing Act on the grounds that they believe the premises are not upholding the prevention of crime and disorder and public safety licensing objectives. The review application was lodged following a series of reports of incidents and intelligence of alleged criminal activity at the premises and the licence holders' failure to protect their patrons. I've not received any contact from either of the licence holders since the application for review was lodged, so I'm unable to advise you of any updates or mediation that's taken place. Members are reminded that any powers exercised by them must be necessary and appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives and directed at the causes of concern which the application identifies once these have been established following this hearing. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Sergeant Goslin, would you like to? Oh, Louise.
Good morning. So I'll keep it brief. It is and always has been the intention of Dorset Police Drug and Alcohol Harm Reduction Team to engage with and support licensees throughout Dorset in order to promote the four licensing objectives to prevention of crime and disorder, preventing public nuisance, promoting public safety and protecting children from harm. It is our expectation that all licensees will endeavour to meet these objectives and fulfil their duty as licensees with the responsibility to uphold these objectives and also to meet the conditions of the premises licence. As we have documented, the DART team structures our engagement towards attempting to achieve improvements within licensed premises in a collaborative approach in order to achieve efficient and worthwhile improvements, ultimately to avoid bringing concerns before the licensing subcommittee where possible. If anyone has any questions about the stepped approach that we engage in, please, we will be very happy to explain it. It also flows through the application for review of the premises licence that you all have in front of you. We have undertaken a prolonged period of engagement with the premises licence holder. However, despite our ongoing support, recommendations, continued intervention, we have been left with no alternative but to submit this application for the review of the premises licence. So I said I'd keep it brief. I mean, this review application does detail our concerns, I think, sufficiently, and it also documents our subsequent engagement. So I won't elaborate any further about the specific areas of concern. Suffice to say, Dorset Police no longer has confidence in the premises licence holder or the DPS, who have demonstrated a sustained and consistent inability to uphold the licensing objectives.
Thank you very much. Do members have any questions for the applicant at all? Oh. Yeah, thank you.
Would you find it useful if they just gave you a little summary of what they thought the main problems were?
Yes, would it be possible just to give us an update as to what you think the main issues are? And having read the report, I know one of the key issues is the CCTV, and just wondered where we are with all that. Lovely, thank you.
So I think from my point of view, before I come on to that point, Chair, if you wouldn't mind, in relation to this sustained period of engagement, of course, we are a limited resource, as is every public service, and the amount of engagement that's taken place with this particular premises over the last couple of years is significant, and we have done absolutely everything that we can to work with Mr. Kimber and other members of staff to try and make the improvements that are necessary to achieve that compliance and safety for the customers. As you quite rightly point out, there are concerns around availability of CCTV on occasion. There is concern around the level of drugs intelligence emanating from the premises, and generally their ability to care for the customers. And we know of one occasion at least where the ambulance was turned away from the premises when they were called to somebody who had taken drugs. And this really paints that pattern, and it's been a pattern, and you will notice that there are periods where you might be led to think that there's been nothing happening, but it's because we actually have to do work elsewhere in the county as well, so we can't constantly stay involved in the premises. It just appears to be that whenever we are engaging, or whenever we do conduct visits, that we're finding shortfalls and failures in the operating schedule. So, as Louisa said, I don't want to keep us here any longer than we need to. Since this application has been submitted, we did have the conversation. We did immediately prior to submitting this application have the conversation whereby we sought some improvements. You'll notice that towards the end of the report, where there's and you can see where that is, because there's 11 improvements that were suggested by the licence holder to bring the standards up. Unfortunately, I don't think these are sufficient. These are what I would consider to bring the standard up to somewhere near normal. These are measures I would expect to have in place for any premises, not a premises that is suffering significant issues and causing us a significant concern. So you'll see that there is a sustained failure to meet the licensing objectives, and since the application's been submitted, as has been already highlighted by Ms. Rogers, that we've not had any contact either, and that's disappointing. We haven't had any other suggestions for improvements. And one final thing to add in, we have, of course, got the statement from Inspector Wasey, who's the local inspector, who was the driving force behind the submission of the review. And you will have had an opportunity to review the content of his statement, which I found to be quite alarming, actually, as to quite the level of his concern, given the vast area that he covers. But in advance of this hearing, we've not heard anything. We've not had any evidence served upon us. We genuinely have no idea what the licensee is going to say. And to that end, I would ask that we also consider the regulations around introducing new evidence as well to a hearing. So I'll leave that one to you.
Thank you, Sergeant. Do members have any questions? Councillor Butler, thank you.
Yes, I'd like to ask the police, is it usual practice if a premises is open for seven days that security is only offered on one day of the week? Is that usual practice?
It very much depends on the type of premises. Some premises obviously don't have any security at all, and some might have security 7 days a week. When the licence is granted, a risk assessment is conducted, and quite often conversations are had, that's when that type of condition is determined. On this occasion, I can't recall what the condition states for this particular premises. However, we would ask always that, whilst it may not be a condition of the licence, we would ask that every responsible licensee conduct that risk assessment. And of course we accept that there are commercial constraints that might make it impossible to achieve that, but we would ask that whatever the decision, that upholding the licensing objectives are always first and foremost before anything else.
Can I just clarify? So we've got these 11 points here for improvement. Do you have any evidence at all that any differences have been made on any of the 11 points?
No, we've not been advised that they've been put in place. We do have, there have been incidents, hasn't there? There have been incidents occurring at the premises between the time that the review application has been submitted. So it's very difficult to know because that dialogue isn't there.
Sergeant Gosling, can I ask, I can't find it on the report right now, but I recall when I was reading through that on on occasion when the police did visit the premises, there was drug paraphernalia found. Can I ask whether or not there's any pending prosecutions on that? And I also noticed there is an alleged rape case which is live. And I'm not sure whether that's something we can talk about today, or perhaps you could give me some advice on that, please.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just deal with the second one first in relation to the allegation of rape. That won't be something we can talk today about, unfortunately. In relation to the other matter, the possession of drug paraphernalia isn't an offence in itself. So that's not something that any criminal action would follow. However, it's obviously an intelligence concern to us. Any type of drugs paraphernalia within close proximity to a licensed premises and in areas that are commonly used by staff of the licensed premises is naturally of significant concern to us.
Thank you. Any further questions from members? No. Right. In which case then... just for clarification, members, that information is on the bottom of page 16 for your reference. Right. If there are no further questions, perhaps we'd like to ask Mr. Kimber if he'd like to address the committee, please. Oh, Mrs. Legg. Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, do you have any questions of the police at all before we move on?
I do have several, yes, but right, okay. The first one being you mentioned drug paraphernalia. Was anybody questioned about it at the time?
So that's it's not an offence, so nobody can be questioned about it at all.
Right, okay. That's, but you did bring it up, put it in the report. As it happens, I am aware of this. At the time in question, there was a friend of Mr. Kimber's staying in the property who is diabetic, and he was actually showing Mr. Kimber how to do the sugar level tests and how to do the injections. That is a drug paraphernalia, the only one that I'm aware of.
So I've got no way of verifying any of this. This is new, sorry.
Thank you, Sergeant.
But with the greatest respect, nobody was asked about it.
Can I address the committee?
Yes, please, Sergeant.
So, in advance, so with regards to the, I mean, perhaps it's one, I don't know if I'm in the right place. I will do my best. The report was submitted, well, it's dated 27th of November. So that is the report that details in relation to the drugs paraphernalia, which is the information that the subcommittee have received. And it was served exactly the same day to Mr. Kimber. So in advance of this hearing is the opportunity to query anything that's in that report so that we can perhaps verify with Mr. Kimber's associate, because at the moment there is no way that we can verify that whatsoever. And I would have greatly taken the opportunity to do so, but unfortunately we are in session and can't do it.
Thank you, Sergeant, and I'm sure members have made a note of that. Mrs. Legg?
There's something I would like to say, and I've already had the conversation with the officers in the corridor.
Is this the question to the...
No, it's just a statement to everybody. Since I've been getting more involved over the last couple of weeks in the running of the premises, because I have a senior management background. I am an ex-regional manager for a big national company, a multi-million-pound company, and I used to run the whole of the South Coast. I used to work very, very closely with councils and organisations, trading standards and all that sort of thing, so I know how to deal with these issues and get on top of them. But I did say to the officers out in the corridor that as far as I am concerned, I am more than willing to work as closely as possible with themselves and with the licensing committee. So rather than get into this situation, we can jump on it straight away. If there is an issue, then it can be dealt with, and I'm more than happy to do that. The CCTV you mentioned, I don't know if the committee's aware, but 2 years ago we had remember the serious snow that we had around Bournemouth and Poole, and everywhere was absolutely gridlocked because nobody could get anywhere. Because of that, the severity of the snow, we actually had the roof collapse and major leaks within the building. And subsequently, we had to close for several months for structural repairs. Roof had to be replaced, electrical rewiring, so much work had to be done, which was all done through the insurance company. This brings me on to the CCTV side of things. We have been, and we admit we have been having issues with CCTV, and we could never find the problem. Engineers were called out, couldn't find it. New unit was put in place. It turns out that due to the flood, the actual circuitry inside the building had actually got water inside it. So there was water ingress in the coax cables that go around the building. And when it warms up, dries out, it works. When it's cold and damp, it won't work. Since then, as you are aware, the whole CCTV system has been replaced. It's all running now on full high definition. Yes, the CCTV is rather difficult to get access to, and since my involvement, I have made a recommendation that the CCTV is now being moved. We haven't done it at the moment because of financial restraints. As we don't know the outcome of this hearing, we are only a very small business, and everything does cost money. But if we get a favourable outcome in this hearing, we are moving the CCTV actually down into the premises. We are reopening the cloakroom upstairs, which will also double up as a first aid room and quiet room. And the CCTV recording equipment and monitors will be in there. So if the police do come and they want to see it, they haven't got to try and get into the accommodation above to get access to it. There will be 24/7 access to the CCTV. I will quite happily give all my contact details because I have keys for the premises. And that way you can walk straight in the premises, straight in the cloakroom, and it will all be there for you. And you can come anytime, day or night. We do not have an issue with that. Right, next, the situation with the ambulance. Now... Sorry.
I don't mean to butt into you, but could you just tell us who you are, start at the beginning, because you're saying that you're going to take control and do X and Y, but and you've given us a bit about your background, but can you please tell us the connection you have to the premises, to Mr. Kimber, that type of thing? So, thank you.
I have been a patron of the Exchange for over 20 years. Prior to Mr. Kimber being there, when it was run by Tim and Luke, the Exchange was always a safe haven for myself and a lot of people like myself. I don't particularly want this going down on record, and
you don't need to go into any personal
well, it is relevant.
Mrs. Legg, just a reminder that this is a public meeting, so this is going to be audio recorded and published. So if you're disclosing any personal information that is relevant to this hearing, but you don't want in the public domain, we would need to exclude the press and public before proceeding. So it's just to be mindful of that. We can do it. It's
Could
up
we
to
possibly
you.
do that? Would that be possible? Yeah. Thank you.
So can I ask the subcommittee to formally move and agree to exclude the press and public?
I'm happy to propose from the chair
Okay.
that we exclude press and public from the
Is that
meeting.
seconded? Okay, so members
Thank you.
agree?
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll just hold just for a couple of seconds just so that we can ask some people to leave, all right?
Thank you, Joe. Sergeant Goslin, you wish to say something?
Yes, sorry, Chair. Just in advance of potentially new information coming up to light, we've obviously perfectly valid question in relation to the how the premises has progressed as far as those areas of concern. But we've not heard anything, so it will be new to us, but obviously we'll be unable to verify it, especially in light of the fact that we've had new intelligence in advance of this hearing around continued issues, certainly around drugs.
Thank you, Sergeant. Mrs. Lake?
Thank you. I'll deal with that in a minute. The first issue, I think we've covered that. That's to do with myself taking over as general manager of the venue. The second one was, we said about introduction of staff uniform. These are all things that will be put into place.
Sorry, could you just, for the benefit of the committee, could you just say whether or not you've implemented these points that you said you were going to implement? Thank you.
We are working to implement them.
That's a no.
At the moment, we haven't. We are in the process of moving the CCTV. That is in the process of being moved.
Item 3.
Staff drinking whilst on duty. I have put a blanket ban on that. If anybody is offered a drink, then they have it at the end of the night. I'm having no drinking behind the bar because you're not allowed to serve alcohol if you're intoxicated yourself. So, that's instant dismissal. Item 4, the 501 radio, we have got that. That is in place. We have had that now for about 2 to 3 weeks. The sergeant there looks rather confused.
Item 5, staff meetings.
Staff meetings, there is going to be...
No, that's a no then.
But there will be, after this hearing, there is going to be a big staff meeting within 48 hours, so everybody is aware of what's going on and what is expected.
Item 6.
Toilet attendant, we have the security staff, because we do actually have security staff 7 nights a week. I don't know, because somebody did mention earlier about 1 night a week. No, we do actually have SIA officers on site 7 nights a week. Some nights it's 1, and on the busiest nights we have 2.
Vanya's a toilet attendant. Vanya.
But we brought on a new member of staff, Vanya. She is going to be the toilet attendant. But on top of that, because of where the cloakroom is located, which is upstairs facing the ladies and gents toilets, whoever is in the cloakroom will be doing hourly checks. There will be forms in both of the conveniences to be signed and dated to say that the hourly checks are being done. And that way we can, hopefully that will be enough to stop people going in there taking drugs. I've also said whenever anybody goes in there to do toilet checks, all flat surfaces will be sprayed with spray bleach. So if anybody tries doing anything off any of the surfaces, it will just dissolve straight into it. So, but the intention is to stop it getting in there in the first place. That is the intention. We haven't considered opening earlier, but what we have done is we have decided, because of the way trade is at the moment, and even more so with the current situation with the corona, we will be closing Mondays, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, only opening Thursday, Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays, and bank holiday Mondays. So that would be better for residents because, you know, it'll be quieter for them. They get a little bit of respite. ID scanner. We have spoken to several companies about this. We can actually have one put into place within 3 to 5 days. We've spoken about the lease for the equipment as well. We can get it on 3, 6 months, 12 months leases. So that, and they will support it as well. So if we have any issues, which is not something that's generally asked for that I'm aware of, but it's something that we want to put in place so as we know our clientele are protected.
Item 9 includes CCTV.
That's already been done.
Detection stirrers. They've been introduced.
Well, no, they haven't, but we have done some research into them, and they are not necessarily that effective.
Okay, thank you for that. And the numbers of SIA trained door staff will be increased to 2 on Saturday evenings to meet the peak demand.
That has been done, and that has been like that now for several months.
Thank you very much. Do members have any questions for Mrs. Legg or Mr. Kimber at all? Yes. Okay. So, did you have any further information to present to the committee at all, or?
We have also clamped down on people entering the premises. The security staff are all told that anybody, and I mean anybody, whether it's friends, regulars, whatever, that comes into the premises with a bag of any description, it is automatically searched, along with the random searches that we do already anyway. Any bags that come into the property, into the venue, other than ladies' handbags, will have to go into the cloakroom, because we don't want people walking around with them, because we don't know what's in them. You know, something may possibly get through. We'd do our utmost not to, but you know, we want those out of the way and locked away in the cloakroom. We're finding that more and more people now are starting to drink non-alcoholic drinks. Like myself, for starters, I don't drink at all. I might have the odd little apple sours once a month or something like that, but I don't drink. I can't anyway, because my wife's been a renal pain student for years, and you know, need my licence for hospitals.
Just to confirm, Mrs. Legg, we are now in
That's
open
fine.
session. Okay.
That's fine. And then, of course, yeah, we'll be doing the searches, and we've told the security staff that we want to up the number of searches on people. That's the other thing I was getting to. We want to introduce teas, coffees as well into the venue. So if people want non-alcoholic drinks, because I can be out all night, and I quite often fancy a cup of coffee when I'm out, rather than drinking alcohol. So that is going to be put into place, and the flats above the premises, we are looking to put those in the hand of an independent agent. At the moment, it's taken up predominantly by members of staff, which can get a little difficult trying to handle that and handle the venue downstairs sometimes. And I put to Mr. Kimber that we get a private rental agency in to come in, manage the properties above, and any problems that are up there, they will be dealt with by them. So we will be paying, they will collect the rents and do the day-to-day running of the premises upstairs, which will then give us a chance to concentrate on the venue downstairs.
Thank you very much. Councillor Butler, I think you had a question.
Yeah, I was just interested to know what pressures are on you if you're open such long hours to actually staff a venue for so many hours a day. You know, how does that work with rotas, you know, shift work?
We have the staff to cover all the hours, but like I said previously, because of the way the marketplace is at the minute and the things with the current situation, we intend to close to try and take some pressure off of staff, off of Mr. Kimber, but Mr. Kimber will not be involved in the day-to-day running anyway, and give us a chance to get on and do other things that we need to do, whether it be staff training, maintenance, you know, preparing for events, all that sort of thing. So we're trying to give the staff a bit of a break so they're not being pushed too much. And at the same time, it's actually saving us money, because it is actually costing us money to open on those 3 days, because once you take into account bar staff, security, and then the general opening costs, electric, rent rates and everything else, we are not taking money to cover it. So financially, that is putting a lot of strain on Mr. Kimber. So we're going to pull that back a bit so that can take some of the pressure off. I hope that answers your question.
Sorry, so if somebody starts at 10 in the morning, how many hours do they work until?
We don't open during the daytime. We only open in the evenings. We do have a 24-hour licence, or 23-hour licence, but we only open from 10 p.m. until 5:30 a.m. Last orders being 5:15. During the week, it's normally around about 3 a.m. that we close.
Do members have any further questions at all of Mr. Kimber or Mrs. Legg?
No, I don't think
No.
I just wanted to ask, are people members of your premises and signing in guests, or can anybody just turn up and come in?
We are not a members venue. We were a predominantly gay venue, but with the way times have changed, it's now more of a 50-50 split. So we're getting, for want of a better phrase, the straight people and the gay people coming in. And that can cause us a few issues sometimes, but we do tend to jump on that straight away. Some people will come in now. They are told before they come in, if we don't recognise them or they haven't been to the venue before, that it is a predominantly gay venue, so as they are aware before they go in. But if we have issues, most of the time, this is not going to necessarily be PC, but most of the time it's if something, for argument's sake, there's a gay chap rubs past a straight guy, he could take offence, and then we have to try and jump on that and calm that down and say, look, you know, there's nothing going on here, he's not interested in you. But, you know, we are pretty good at sorting that sort of thing out, so we don't tend to have that many problems at the moment. I mean, most of the problems that we've been having that I'm aware of have actually been outside of the premises when we've refused to let people in, which we do get issues with that. They wouldn't try it if they were at another venue. This is one of the reasons we want to bring in the scanner, so we will know if someone's been ejected from another venue or is barred or whatever. It will give us a heads up.
Thank you, Mrs. Legg. Is there anything else you'd wish to add at all to your presentation to the committee this morning with regarding the points that have been raised by the Dorset Police?
I'd like to say a few words. The venue has been there for the best part of 30 years. It is probably the oldest gay venue along the south coast of England. We have people come from all over the country, all over Europe. A week and a half ago, we even had the BBC come in to film for a documentary they are doing, which will be out in several months' time. And they came to us because they like the exchange. They love it. Whenever they're down here, the film crew would come into the exchange. We have done a lot to help our community, and if our licence is ripped away from us, I believe it could be quite damaging. There's not that many venues left now. I mean, if we go back 10 years ago, there was about 7 or 8. There's now 2. If we go, then it's not just only going to cost jobs and homes and everything at the exchange, it's going to have a knock-on effect as well on the second venue round the corner, because we feed each other. And it's going to have a knock-on effect on people coming to the area from our community, because they're not going to want to come to a place where there's only one venue. You know, you need to have 2, 3, 4. But if we've only got one, it's going to destroy it for us. Again, we have to put up with abuse on a day-to-day basis. People driving by, hurling abuse out the windows, throwing eggs, throwing bricks through the windows. We've had it all, and we still get it now. We still get it. We still get the abuse and everything, and it's not nice. We shouldn't have to put up with that in this day and age. We've done so much work for charity over the years, and we still do. We do World AIDS Day events. We do the Trans Remembrance Day, which I do every year. We do prides. We do so much. And we also have people come in. We've had people come into the venue that have, rightly or wrongly, been down to the gardens, which is a known area for some of the gay people, and they've been beaten up, abused, assaulted, and they've come to us for help. They have come, and we have helped them. We're bent over backwards to help them. We have also, something that hasn't been touched on, we have also had some problems with the security staff that we've had. I had to deal with one of the SIA officers and get his employer and supervisor down because he turned up to work totally unfit. Now, that's not good. We can't have that. So, you know, but they're an outside contractor. We pay them to do the job. They don't actually work for us. And that said person did lose his job, and he has since tried to cause us problems, making false accusations. We've had somebody else, another ex-employee, which we'd fired for theft. And we suspect he was fraudulently taking money out of the company's bank account, who has since hacked our Facebook page, and we are now fighting with Facebook, and I have got copies of the paperwork here if anyone wants to see it. They've hacked our Facebook page, and some of the things that are going on there are absolutely disgusting. They're just... It's members of staff that we've dismissed and trying to cause us problems.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Legg. Sergeant Gosling, I think you may want to have some questions first before I ask you to sum up.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, I'd normally have the information in advance, and I could talk about new information again, but I think we know where we are with that. So perhaps rather than challenge new information, perhaps I can seek clarity on it, if that's okay. So, Mrs. Legg, you mentioned that Mr. Kimber is no longer involved in the day-to-day running of the premises through various issues that he's got, and that you're essentially taking that place. Is that right?
I've stepped in now as general manager, so I will be dealing with the day-to-day things and liaising with the likes of yourself, licensing.
Okay. So how long's that been the case?
It's been the last couple of weeks.
Okay. And okay, so it's been the case for the last couple of weeks. You've been operating during the last couple of weeks?
Yes.
Remind me, have you got the premises? Have you got a personal license?
I am. If the hearing goes and we go
Sorry, have you got?
At the moment, I haven't. No,
Right, okay.
But I am putting in for my personal license and then going to go down as the DPS.
Okay, but to be clear, you've got no personal license. You've been essentially running the place for the last couple of weeks.
We have got a personal license on the premises.
Okay. You want to step up searches, but then you mentioned that everybody gets searched. What is it? Is it everyone gets searched, or is it?
I didn't say everybody gets searched. Anybody that comes in with a bag of any description,
Right.
those automatically get searched,
Okay.
regardless whether it's a handbag, carry bag, backpack, anything. They get searched.
Okay.
And then on top of that, there's the random body searches and pockets, jackets, trousers searches as well.
So what structure is around that? What policy have you got around the search?
The security staff have been informed. They have been told. At the moment, it's 1 in 10. I've said I want it up into 1 in 5.
Okay.
It's not feasible to search every single individual.
I would disagree. There's lots of premises that do it, but it's on a risk assessment basis, so it's down to licensee to manage that.
Right, okay.
So, and I'll go into some of these points that the chair's asked for clarity on. Perhaps I can get a bit more. You haven't introduced a uniform, and you've said that it will be put into place. And that was something that was considered important during the meeting with Mr. Kimber, because he wanted to distinguish staff from customers. How long does it take to get a uniform? We had that meeting 2 months ago.
I was only made aware of the meeting about a month ago. I have only recently stepped in as the general manager, so I'm actually starting.
But we've been on this journey for months, years, and yeah, that's not an adequate answer.
And, well, it's not just that. I mean, bearing in mind that we are only a very, very small venue.
But this was suggested by Mr. Kimber.
We do have financial restraints, and there's only so much we can do. We haven't got a bottomless pit of a bank account.
I think we need to move on.
And we have paid for a whole new CCTV system.
Thank you, Mrs. Legg.
In relation to number 4, the 501 radio, I've got no way of verifying that. Generally, we're notified if somebody receives, because we get an updated list, because each venue has a call sign, and we're generally notified. So that's the only evidence I can go on, Chair, Again, that's the only evidence I can go on at the moment, is that I don't have the evidence of that coming into place. I stand to be corrected, but I haven't been informed, and you generally are informed as well.
I get copied in and I haven't seen it.
Well, I can verify. We have got it, and you're more than welcome to go straight down to the venue after this and check that we have got it. It's there in the cupboard on charge.
The toilet attendant to be introduced at peak times. I'm hearing confusing things around that, with security staff being used, somebody from the cloakroom having sight of it, hopefully enough to keep it away. Spray bleach, which, no, don't do that, please. Don't do that. That's dangerous for customers. We don't want to make drugs worse by allowing them to inhale bleach.
Could I ask something on that?
Sorry, there's no cross-examination. The committee are here to decide whether or not the premises. Sergeant Goslin.
Thank you. On one of the other points in relation to the introduction of the ID scanner, again, I would question why we had a conversation on the 15th of January around the introduction of that scanner. Mrs. Legg has just said that companies have been spoken to who can provide that scanner within 3 to 5 days. Well, we've had 2 months to introduce that, and it hasn't been introduced. In relation to the improved CCTV, I've got concerns from some of the comments made that we still don't have an adequate CCTV system to meet the objectives. But I'm pleased that the number of SIAs have been reduced on a Saturday. But I think, again, around the drink spiking at number 10, I would ask, no research has been done. We've highlighted a significant problem around intelligence around drugs. You say that no research has been done around the drinks, or the research has been done around the stirrers, and that's been deemed not to be the most appropriate method to identify it and to tackle drink spiking. I would ask Mrs. Legg or Mr. Kimber to identify whether anything has been identified in its place to deal with this problem, because it is still significant.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing we have done, we have been putting new signage around the inside of the building and recommending people not to leave drinks unattended. We've also got zero tolerance posters around the premises as well, as far as drugs are concerned. And we are in the process of removing the flat surfaces, like around the dance floor and things like that, where people can actually leave the drinks, go away and come back. We'd much rather the customers keep the drink in their hand. Because if they've got the drink, theoretically it cannot be spiked. There's less chance of it being spiked. And the other thing is as well, I don't know, in all the years I've worked there, I do not know of a single case where somebody has been spiked.
Did you have any more questions, Sergeant Goslin?
Yeah, just one. In relation to the levels of bricks being thrown, abuse being hurled, we don't have any records of that on our system. So is that something that's underreported? And if so, I would firstly encourage the premises and their patrons to record any such behaviour or activity. But again, without being able to verify those, I can't. I don't know.
Right, a question from a legal officer.
Thank you, Mrs. Legg, Mr. Kimber. Obviously, you've had these concerns raised. You've seen the police's application for review. Could you maybe tell the committee what you think the problems are in the premises? What do you see as the main problems in the premises?
We have seen a massive change in our clientele. Things have changed. in a big way. Like I stated earlier, the venue was a predominantly gay bar, now it's not.
So what's the time frame for that? Because I'm just trying to look at the time frame where the police have been trying to work with the premises. So, you know, what's your time frame of the change?
We want to get on it immediately.
No, not the change is what you're going to do. The change is from, you've said there's been a big difference in your clientele.
Oh, that's been over the last, what, 4 or 5 years?
Okay.
I mean, laws have changed, you know, people have got different rights now. Some people agree with it, some people don't. We try and nip out the ones that we think are going to, could possibly cause us some aggravation inside the venue.
So just, you know, clarify then, what do you think the problems are currently in the premises? Because we are where we are with the clientele, aren't we? So, yeah.
Part of it at the moment has been the management, I'll be perfectly honest. That's why I've stepped in. And, you know, jumping on staff, we are going to be upping a lot of the staff training.
So if we just go back then, so the poor management, and what's the problems you think's been caused in the premises because of the poor management? What do you see?
Well, basically the staff, I mean, we've had problems with staff trying to do what they want and come in when they want to, go when they want to, just mistaking Mr. Kimber's kindness for a weakness. I think that's a polite way of putting it, and taking advantage of his good nature. Mr. Kimber is one of these people that wants to be friends with everybody, wants to try and help everybody, but as I like to point out on several occasions, in business you can't do that. Business is business at the end of the day.
So the police have highlighted in their application that they feel there's an issue with drugs in the premises. Would you agree with that?
I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't say we are any different to any other venue. I know I can walk into virtually any venue in Bournemouth, and if I wanted to, I could lay my hands on whatever I want.
Right. So
because it is readily available everywhere.
So you're
and
saying
the problem with drugs nowadays is it's much cheaper than alcohol.
So you recognise there's an issue with drugs.
We recognise there seems to be an underlying issue, yes, but we are trying to take steps to significantly reduce that. And as I said to the officers outside, I am more than happy to work very closely with them. And if we can, any recommendations they have, we're more than happy to listen. We want to work with them and with yourselves, not against you. But we haven't had any drug searches done. We haven't had any swab tests done. We haven't had any drug raids. So if, with the greatest respect, you know, if there was that much of an issue, I would have thought we would have had a raid or somebody going with swabs. But we haven't had anything like that.
No, but from the application, you would accept that the police have been working with the premises for a long time now?
From what I'm aware, there's only been, in recent times, only a couple of visits from the police, other than coming in to deal with situations, collecting CCTV and that sort of thing, but when they're doing general day-to-day inquiries. But as far as meetings are concerned, I'm only aware of a couple in the recent time. I would like that to be a lot more.
Okay.
I would like it to be like once a month. So that way we can stamp if there is any issues or any intelligence that they can pass on to us. You know, we can act on that. If we don't know...
That's the end of...
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Legg. Sergeant Gosling, did you have any further questions or did you wish to sum up?
I'll wait for summing up. I'll wait for summing up, if that's okay. Is there more summing up to be done? Is there a summing up opportunity for...
No, so if there are no further questions, happy for you to sum up, Sergeant.
Oh, sorry, there is one question I would like to ask, sorry. Regarding on what decision is going to be made about the licence, could I put out there that we would like, if possible, a 6-month period where we can work very, very closely with you guys. So that way you can see us making steps. We can then build a relationship with you guys, a better working relationship, which at the moment we just, we haven't really got, but I'd like to work on that.
Yeah, we understand, Mrs. Legg. Sergeant Gosling.
I feel like I need a minute. Okay.
Sorry, Sergeant. Did you want a minute or two just to collect your thoughts?
No, we'll go with it,
No,
if that's all right. It might come across a bit disjointed, but you will accept that this is all new. This is new.
Yeah.
There's yeah.
Right,
No, it's fine. I think we can go with it. What's that?
Did you have some exempt? What were you going below?
No.
Yeah, what were you going below the line?
No, we don't need to. Sorry, we addressed that outside. There was something I thought that was going to come up. It hasn't, and that was clarified before. But yeah, so we're just into summing up now. Yeah, it might just appear a bit disjointed. I'll make it as clear as I can. You've heard from Mrs. Legg, who is the current, if you like, manager, person who's calling the shots, person who's jumping on the staff. She doesn't have a personal licence. She's identified herself that it's mismanagement that's what's led us to why we're here now. I do take issue with the fact that there's been no engagement. I think from the lengthy document, I think probably amongst the longest documents I've prepared for this subcommittee. And believe it or not, I had to reduce it down to make it somehow readable, because otherwise you would have just got lost in the detail. But we have engaged. And it is the responsibility of the licence holder and DPS to uphold the licensing conditions, the licensing objectives, pardon. It's not for Dorset Police or any other responsible authority to engage on a monthly basis. We have several thousand premises to manage within Dorset, of which I oversee. And I oversee it with the support of 2 licensing officers and 1 licensing administrator sat behind me. We can't meet on a monthly basis. It's the responsibility of licensees to uphold the licensing objectives. I think when Mrs. Legg mentioned that it was staff interpreting the kindness of Mr. Kimber for weakness, I think it's the other way around. I think it is the weakness that they were seeing, and they have been running rings, I have no doubt. But that's not an excuse. We're talking considerable risk here to the public. Considerable risk. We've heard from Mrs. Legg that you can get drugs essentially in the exchange like you would anywhere else. It doesn't make it right.
Excuse me, no cross-examination. You've had your chance to address the committee. Sergeant Gosling is now addressing the committee for us to make a decision. So I'll be grateful if you could keep your thoughts to yourself, please. Sergeant Gosling.
That is how I read the comment, and it went further to say that drugs are that readily available that it's cheaper than alcohol. And I can assure the committee that as a licensed community, we work tirelessly with venues of all size, multinationals and independents, to tackle the issue. We do so in a responsible way as and when the problems occur. And we do have several licensees, again, large and small, that will come to us when they identify there's a problem, and they will seek our support in dealing with that problem, whether it be advice, whether it be informing us of patterns that they're identifying, perhaps with certain demographics or certain particular drugs coming to light. We do so through the pub watch, and that's a huge, huge area as well that is really, really important, but not a meeting that I see Mr. Kimber attending. So, to address the request from Mrs. Legg for a 6-month period to try and redress some of these issues and to engage more positively with us, it's not through a lack of trying on our part that we are where we are. We have done absolutely everything that we can to address these issues, and we do so, and in keeping with the Licensing Act, we do so whilst keeping licensees informed of the problems that that's being reported to us, working with licensees to address them, but that responsibility has to sit with the licensees. And for Mr. Kimber to bring Mrs. Legg in at this late stage to try and rescue the premises is, in my opinion, woeful. He's not brought somebody in with a personal licence. He's brought somebody in who has told us today that she has experience. But it's not somebody that I can be confident in. The measures that I considered to be woefully inadequate, not even that. I was fully expecting that they would. I was fully expecting that they would be a real credit to the venue. Whilst I considered that they fell far short, I at least felt that they were going to be met today. But they haven't. Simple things, staff uniform. It doesn't have to be expensive. I think we all know that. Mrs. Legg has said that the ID scanner can be there in 3 to 5 days. It's not there. There's no regular staff meetings. I mean, to now come to the committee hearing and start suggesting that that will be introduced, how difficult is it to hold a staff meeting? I think this is the first hearing that I've been involved with where I'm actually concluding my part of it, if you like, prior to your deliberations, with more concerns than I came into the hearing with. Genuinely, and I think I'll leave it there.
Okay, thank you, Sergeant. Right, we've listened to the address from both the licence holder and the applicants, and I think the committee will now retire to make its decision, and we'll return. Ladies and gentlemen, having considered the application and having heard representations from Dorset Police and on behalf of the premises, and having regard for the 2003 Licensing Act and accompanying guidance, the subcommittee has decided to revoke the premises licence for Exchange Bar for the Triangle Bournemouth on the grounds that the premises is not upholding the licensing objectives of the prevention of crime and disorder and public safety. The reason for the decision: the subcommittee considered the options available as set out in the recommendation of the report. The subcommittee do not consider that any of the other options would be appropriate in upholding the licensing objectives. The subcommittee has no confidence in the current management or that being proposed at today's hearing. There are concerns that Mrs. Legg, despite having some historic experience in the licensing industry, has no current training or qualifications in running a licensed premises. The subcommittee shares the concerns of the police that the current premises licence holders are not exercising the levels of control necessary to ensure that the licensing objectives are being upheld. There are concerns that the police have been trying to engage with the premises for a long time without success, and there appears to be disregard for the safety of clientele using the premises. In particular, The subcommittee notes that the steps proposed on the 15th of January 2020 by Mr Kimber have not been fully implemented. Even straightforward low-cost measures such as staff uniforms and staff meetings have not been introduced. The ID scanner, which could have been in place within 5 days, has not been implemented. There are concerns about the reliability of the CCTV, which has been highlighted by the police through their lengthy engagement with the premises. The subcommittee shares the concerns of the police regarding the widespread use of drugs at the premises and the risk that this poses to the clientele and the community. The committee was not satisfied with the steps being proposed to address this today, such as the spray bleaching of services. And I'll hand over to the legal officer for guidance on the right of appeal.
So there is a right of appeal to the decision that the subcommittee has made today. Any appeal should be made to Dorset Magistrates Court and should be made within 21 days of your formal notification of this appeal decision. So you will get a letter in a few days setting out the reasons for the decision, and then you have 21 days from that date to make any appeal that you choose to make. Thank you.
Thank you for your attendance this morning. Thank you. Moving on then, members, to agenda item 5. Well, my microphone was on, so hopefully that was recorded. So, agenda item 5. Sarah.
It's been deferred, isn't it?
Chairman, do you just want me to run through that? So it's with the agreement of all parties and in accordance with the regulations, the subcommittee is being asked to formally open and adjourn this item until the 14th of April subcommittee to enable the premises licence holder to attend. So it's just a
Thank you.
case of...
So, are members in agreement that this item be deferred?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm agreed.
All three, unanimous.
Thank you.
And there being no further business to conduct, I declare the meeting closed at 12:55.